startling statistics here that show 6 teenagers die every day in a car crash here in the United States. And in this week's Know the Law segment, Tom Sinas joining us to talk about tips that you should share with your kids when it comes to driving. A lot of just absolutes you can't do, it turns out.
That's right, and this is National Teen Driver Safety Week, so let's talk about it more than we do normally, although we should talk about it all the time. So let's start with the basics. There isn't anything more important than safety, and I think you have to think in terms of safety even before you think in terms of the law, because sometimes the law doesn't quite keep up with what is the most safe practice. And in no uncertain terms, I absolutely believe that we should have a zero tolerance for cell phones in the car for our teenagers. It's true that the only teenagers who are permitted or who are prohibited from having a cell phone in the car are level 1 or 2 users.
Right.
They are not allowed at all. But I don't think that any of them should have a phone in the car, because we know how deadly and how distracting cell phones are for adults and for teenagers. No texting. No texting for adults, no texting for teenagers, but again, it's not just the texting. It's the apps, it's the phone calls, it's all the other stuff on your phone that is just too much of a distraction. Alcohol. Zero tolerance for alcohol in teenagers. We don't care what your blood alcohol is. If you've got a drop, it's illegal. You're likely to lose your license. So what do you need to do after you've thought about the safety issues? What do you need to do in terms of insurance?
Yeah, you got to have it, right?
You got to have it, and most of the time this falls on the parent. Okay, parents out there, you have to add your kids to your auto insurance policy. I know it causes the auto insurance policy to go up because these are not experienced drivers.
Exactly right.
But if you don't add your kids to the auto insurance policy, you're only begging for a problem. And here's perhaps one of the most significant problems. If your teenage child was in an automobile accident and wasn't added to the policy, there is a very good chance that your teenager could be excluded from no-fault benefits. And what does that really mean? It means that your child could be excluded from a lifetime access to important medical care. So this is not the time to cut corners. Add them to the policy. The other reason is that by not doing that and by allowing your teenager to drive and not being added to the policy, you could risk voiding the entire policy in its entirety, and it's a violation of the law. So I can't stress this enough. Add them to the policy. Remember this too. Parents, if you're the owner of the vehicle, you can be liable to other people if your teenage driver, heaven forbid, causes an accident and hurts someone. So I don't say that to scare people, but I say that when we take this responsibility on as parents to teach our kids to drive, we're doing that to protect them, but we're also doing that to protect everybody else. And the law recognizes that owners of vehicles have certain responsibilities. And so when you're the owner of a vehicle that you're allowing a teenage driver to use, ask yourself, have I done what I have to do to make sure that my child is as safe of a driver as they can be? And I think you have to ask yourself that a lot, and you have to ask yourself that over and over again as you're watching your child's driving and as you're watching your teenager's behavior.
And because parents are liable, you can either get an umbrella policy or maybe just at least up your liability to really cover yourself.
That's another good point. I would absolutely recommend that people get as much insurance as they can. Again, I hope they never need it. I hope that we get those kids out there and they're well trained. They don't cause any accidents, but if they do, also an important layer of protection to think about.
Yeah, teenage drivers, supposed to be a fun time of their life, and it can be, but you certainly got to be careful as well.
That's absolutely right.
Real quickly, Tom, how do people track you down to find out more information?
They can give us a call at 616-301-3333. They can find us online at www.sinasdramis.com or shoot us an email at info@sinasdramis.com.
Good stuff. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks for having me.